I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today we're going to talk about the 3 pillars of soundproofing. Now this is kind of more of a theoretical video, but it is extremely important to understanding why we do all the crazy stuff that we do when creating and building a soundproof home recording studio. So if you're interested in getting a good overview of soundproofing, then this video is definitely for you. Before we jump in, I just want to say I have a free soundproofing course in the description below. If you want to take a deeper dive, definitely check out that link. Now, without further ado, let's jump in that video. All right, so first we just got to talk about what are the 3 pillars of soundproofing. So first we have mass, second we have air, and third we have transmission. Mass, air, transmission. Now these 3 pillars are really helpful for understanding something so complex like how to keep sound out of a room or keep sound in a room. So I love this because 3 is such a magical number and it helps me understand why we do all these things. So let's start with mass. Mass is one of the key foundations to stopping sound from entering your room. There is something called mass law, but without going too in depth in the science and the details here, I just want you to have this overarching concept that having a very massive, heavy wall, ceiling, or floor is the reason that most of the sound gets stopped from entering. The heavier the wall, the heavier the floor, the heavier the ceiling, sound cannot penetrate through that massive material. So now I'm going to talk about 3 different things that show how mass is used in a soundproof studio build. First, we have our foundation. So if you've seen some of these videos before, you probably know that I'm a big fan of using concrete slabs as your floor. And the reason is that they're incredibly heavy, incredibly massive. So sound that is coming up from the ground is not going to necessarily enter as easily through your floor. If you had a traditional wood deck that just has some thin pieces of wood, that is going to allow tons more sound to come up through your floor. So mass again is extremely important here. Another example is using drywall. We use 5/8 inch drywall and we use 2 layers stacked on top of each other for both the walls and the ceiling of my studio. The reason for this is that when you stack those 2 layers of 5/8 inch drywall together, it is extremely heavy. So when sound is penetrating through your outside wall, coming into your inside wall and hitting those 2 layers of drywall, it is slowing down and it's not entering your building. Lastly, when we're building our door, a great example of mass in the soundproof studio build in my studio is that we built a very, very heavy door. To do this, we use a solid core door, meaning that it has wood all the way through. A lot of doors in your home are actually probably hollow core doors, meaning that they just have 2 pieces of wood and nothing in the middle. So we want to create as much mass there. Then we added 8 pounds per square foot of sheet lead on the back of the door, which is extremely heavy. And then we sandwich that sheet lead with a 3/4 inch cabinet grade plywood that is also heavy. So this door weighs roughly around 300 pounds and it is extremely helpful for blocking sound from coming through that doorway. Without all that weight, my soundproof studio would not be nearly as soundproof as it is, and all those walls and ceilings and our foundation wouldn't even matter because all the sound would be coming through the door. So next, let's talk about air. And when I say air, I'm actually referring to airtight. A studio needs to be airtight. Your room needs to have no air leaks if you don't want sound coming in and out. To accomplish this, we use acoustic caulk. So acoustic caulk is a special type of caulk that is helpful for blocking out sound from coming through all these minute cracks that you may have in your studio. The way to do this is that when you put on your 2 layers of drywall, afterwards you caulk around the perimeter of your walls and ceiling. So this means the gap between the floor and the wall and the gap between the ceiling and the wall and all your corners. That way, any possible air leaks that are coming through the drywall are getting blocked by the acoustic caulk. Next, we also do something with our door. We use weather stripping to ensure that there is a tight seal between the door and the door jamb. We also use magnetic weather stripping, which creates that final seal that suctions the door closed and makes sure that absolutely no air can get through your door. This is extremely important because even a pinhole leak of air coming through means that some sound could be coming through your door, and again, it will ruin your whole soundproof system. Lastly, I want to talk about transmission. So when I say transmission, I'm talking about how sound can travel through materials and transmit itself from one side of your studio to the inside of your studio, which of course we don't want. So there's a lot of things that we do in soundproofing to stop the transmission of sound from traveling through the structure of your building. The first thing that you can do is build what I love and have used in my studio, which is called a double wall system. This is where you actually frame a second wall with a 1-inch air gap from your outside wall, and then put 2 layers of 5/8" drywall on top of that wall. The air gap actually creates a transmission barrier where sound will hit your outside wall and won't be able to transmit through that 1-inch air gap. We also use these special IB3 clips at the top of the inside wall to help reduce the sound that would transmit from the roof rafters down into my inside wall, while also keeping that inside wall stable and not moving around. Second is a great system that I also love, which is called a hat channel system. I use this on the ceiling of my studio, and the way that you do this is that you actually buy these IB1 clips. They're special acoustic clips that you install either on your wall or your ceiling. In this case, we did it on the roof rafters of my studio, and you space those out, and then you use 7/8" furring channel or hat channel, and you can just clip the hat channel into the IB1 clips, and then you have now created something that decouples the 5/8" drywall, which will screw into the hat channels from the roof rafters. Essentially, you are creating a barrier so that there's no transmission of sound from the roof to your inside ceiling with the 2 layers of 5/8" drywall. Lastly, there is another tool that we use called green glue, which is really interesting. And you basically, between those 5/8" of drywall that I've been talking about this whole video, you actually put a layer of green glue on the inside layer of drywall and then stick the second layer on top of it. What this does is it creates a dampening layer. So dampening is also helping reduce the amount of sound transmission that is traveling through your wall. So we have the mass of the drywall itself. It's very heavy, but then we also add this green glue layer in between, like a sandwich between the 2 layers of 5/8" drywall, that then also reduces the amount of sound that can come through your wall. In my studio, we had green glue on all the walls and all the ceiling, and this dramatically helps with soundproofing the studio. So I hope this video has been a short but insightful step towards learning more about soundproofing. Remember, there are 3 pillars. They are mass, air, meaning airtight rooms, and transmission, meaning reducing the amount of transmission traveling through the structure of your soundproof room. Again, if you would like to learn more about soundproofing, definitely check out my free soundproofing course in the description below. I create new videos on soundproofing every single Monday, so make sure to subscribe, like, and ring that bell so you know when I have new videos coming out. Until next week, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you later.